वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Okay, so Prabhu asked me to start the thing by explaining what I've done there. Some of the devotees told me that they found it useful to have illustrations like this. It's a pictorial representation and helps you to remember. That's why I did this. I hope it's useful. So, chapter 13, Nature, Enjoyer and Consciousness, NEC. So, it's divided into 5 sections. Section 1 is in blue. Arjuna's 6 questions, which is from shlokas number 1 to 7. What is P, P, K, K and J, J? Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana and Gneya. So in section 1, Krishna explains K and K, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And section 2, which is in pink, is shlokas 8 to 12. And Krishna explains the process of knowledge and liberation. So 1J is explained there, which is Jnana. And in section 3, which is in purple, Krishna explains the object of knowledge, which is Gneya. That's from 13 to 19, and that's also another J. And in section 4, which is from shlokas 20 to 26, which we are doing right now, and we have done 24 last week, Krishna explains P and P, Prakriti and Purusha and their union. And the last section, which is in yellow, is Jnana Chakshu, the vision of knowledge, which is from 27 to 35. So there are 35 shlokas in this chapter, and there are 5 sections, and it's NEC, and we are doing section 3 right now. Section 4 right now. And here I tried to make a pictorial of section 3. There are 7 shlokas there. The first one is, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal, Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, which lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. I called it the tasty shloka because Krishna here says, you will taste the eternal. So I've just written a plate of prasadam and slurp there. Huh? Amrita, nectar. Yeah, so we taste the nectar. So I've emphasized the taste there. Oh, it will liberate you. That. Oh, okay. I'll repeat what you said. Mrita is death and Amrita is deathless. So what we taste there is Amrita. Okay. And Amrita also means nectar, which is very sweet. Okay. I just picked up one word there so that we'll remember that shloka. If you think of the tasty shloka, okay, we are going to taste Amrita, the nectar of eternity. Okay. And then 13.14, I called it the hands and legs shloka, because Krishna there says everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. So this shloka is talking about how the super soul is all pervading. And then 13.15 is showing how the super soul is transcendental. He is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer. It's that controversial shloka where he's saying this but that, this but that. And he transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time he is the master of all the modes of material nature. That's why they say 13th chapter is a bit tricky to understand. But then if we apply ourselves properly to it, we can understand it nicely. 13.16, I didn't know what title to give it. One of you can maybe give a title to it. The supreme truth exists outside and inside. So I've drawn a person and Krishna in his heart. So he's inside. And I've drawn a few trees that Krishna is outside also. And then he is in the moving and the non-moving. So I've drawn a few mountains and Krishna is in the non-moving. And I've drawn a few people and he's there inside them and Krishna is moving. And because he is subtle, that is sukshma, he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Avigneyam, Neya means to know. Avigneya means we cannot know. Why? Because he is sukshma, he is subtle. Our mind and intelligence, which is material, we can't see, which is subtle. What to speak of Krishna, is the subtlest. Okay. And then, although far, far away, he is near to all. So I've written Krishna is at the very end there. Krishna, he is far away, but still he is near. There, I've drawn a few people, and inside them also Krishna is there. So he's near. But then it became very cumbersome, and so I left this. But I'll do it for the next few weeks. Little by little, I'll keep doing. Actually, this is sense gratification, because I love doing it. I love drawing and I love stationery, so it's sense gratification. But then some devotee said it's easy to remember. So I thought, okay, now I'll do my sense gratification as a service. Okay, so that is what we did last time, and there were 2 sheets here, no? Oh, yeah, here. Okay, so then we went to section 4, and last time we did Upadrishta Anumanta. So on that I have written like this. Yes, Mataji. Thank you, please. Yeah, I don't know where I kept the blue tack. It will take time to search for it. Okay, so this is, shall we sing it in that raga which we sang last time? Upadrishtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Para. Once more, because it's a very important shloka. Upadrishtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Para. In this, what I have done is, I have colored the shloka in 4 different colors, and correspondingly in the translation I have colored that section of the translation according to what coordinates with the shloka. So this Dehesmin Purusha Para is in orange, yet in this body there is another, that is the translation for that. And yellow is Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor. That is Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara, that is enjoyer, Lord, proprietor. And who exists as the overseer and permitter is in green. So Upadrishta Anumanta is in green. And then Paramatmeti Chapyukto, it's in sort of a dark pink, and who is known as the super soul, it's in dark pink. So overseer, I've drawn a pair of eyes. He is seeing, he is overseeing. So that is Upadrishta. Drishti is eyes. Upadrishta means to oversee. Permitter, I've drawn the traffic signals, and green gives you permission to go. So that is permitter. Anumanta, Anumati. And then he is these 3 also. Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara. Bharta is master. Bhokta is supreme enjoyer. Maheshwara is supreme lord. All these are describing the Paramatma. And where is the Paramatma? In the soul, in the heart of the person. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says how the monists say the Atma and the Paramatma are one. So they are not one. So they I put a green, red cross. And what Vaishnavism, we say Atma and Paramatma are there, but they are friends. So Paramatma is in pink, and they are different. Tick for that. And he says he has hands and legs everywhere. So those are the hands and legs. And the Paramatma, the super soul, is telling this individual soul, what is he telling in this speech bubble? Just give up and turn your faith toward me. Then you will be happy. And there's a happy face. So that is a summary of 13.24. So I think we stopped there last time. Thank you. That is later on, after Prabhu explains, no?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming, making the time to study Bhagavad Gita in the Association of Devotees, which is a very special privilege actually. And we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada, Radha Gopinath are giving us this opportunity. So this section is explaining, Krishna explaining Prakriti and Purusha and how they interact. What is Prakriti? Material nature. And Purusha is the enjoyer. Who is the Purusha? Paramatma, yeah. But also to compete with him, there is another Purusha. Who is the competitor? That's us. Maybe Atma, conditioned soul. Not all liberated Atmas are not. Those who are liberated souls, they are not competitors. The conditioned soul, Baddha Jiva, they are Mukta Jiva is not competitor. Baddha Jiva, conditioned soul, is a competitor. And therefore, he is trying to enjoy material nature. So to make it very clear, Srila Prabhupada and our Acharyas have very painstakingly described the difference between Atma and Paramatma. Right, Arvind? What is the difference between soul and super soul? Wow, very good. Good answer. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Aditya, what are the difference between soul and super soul? You can use the microphone. Hmm. Super soul is, who is super soul?
Super soul is Krishna
Very good.
and soul is us.
Very good. Good answer. Aniket, what is super soul and what is soul?
The super soul is Krishna and the soul is us.
Very good answer. Excellent. See, you learned already most important thing. Big Gyanis don't know. Yes, seriously. You learned something which big Swamis, big Gurus don't know. Huh? Yeah. So, what are the differences are there? What are the characteristics of super soul I mentioned here in this chapter? Krishna does not, in one sense, Krishna does not explain systematically. He does it all over the place. Sometimes Krishna also does that, just to confuse us. So, you go to text number 3. In text number 3, what is the characteristic of Paramatma mentioned there? Knower of all bodies. Very good. Text number 3. What does it say there? Go to the actual Sanskrit words. Please read it out with the microphone.
क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धिं
Chetrapi maham vyaktim
सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत
sarva kshetreshu bharata
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोज्ञार्नं
kshetra kshetra nartam
यत्तं ज्ञानं मतं मम.
yatam jnanam matam mama.
O sign of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion.
So what is super soul doing here? He is the knower of all bodies. So what does that mean? If Aditya is feeling restless, we may not understand it. But Krishna as Paramatma, he knows. Okay? Sit quietly. You're all big boys now. You should sit. Okay? Yeah. So he knows what each one is thinking. What Aniket is thinking, what Aditya is thinking, what Arvind is thinking. Paramatma knows everything. So he's a knower of everything. All bodies. Then, what else? What else mentioned in that verse?
The body and its knower is called knowledge.
So he also knows the body and its knower. Yes, he is the proprietor of all the bodies. So he is the proprietor of all bodies. What does that mean? We don't own anything. Even our body belongs to him. Everything in this world belongs to him. He is the supreme proprietor. Therefore, that is Paramatma. Are we the supreme proprietors? No. So how can we claim to be God? We can't claim to be God. Are you God, Aditya? No. Why? You don't know everything. You can't answer. That itself shows you're not God. If you're God, you would have known the answer, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. Huh? We're in direct proof here. You don't know. That's a good answer. That shows that you are not God. Yes. And is infallible and always superior to the spirit soul. So where is that mentioned? Which verse mentioned that is infallible? So what does infallible mean? He doesn't fail. Achyuta. Achyuta also has got more than one meaning. Achyuta is infallible. Infallible for what? That's one infallible. There's another infallible also. Yes. He has in his love for devotee, he never fails. You ever heard in history, geography, chemistry, anywhere, that Krishna, devotee called out to Krishna and Krishna failed? In our village town in Karnataka, there was one pseudo Bhagavan, and the people are worshipping him as God because he had some mystic powers. So one day when my grandmother was passing away, she also used to have a lot of faith in him. Even though they know so much Puran, Ved, everything, still they were sometimes confused. And she had a heart attack and she was dying. And after she died, he came. And they said Bhagavan was 5 minutes late. If he had come 5 minutes earlier, he could have saved her. Unfortunately, she died before he could come. But you never hear this in Puran that Krishna came 5 minutes late and the devotee lost. That shows he's not Bhagavan. Then after a few years, he also died. So that was the end of Bhagavan era. So we can't be Paramatma like that. It is not possible. A jiva can never become Paramatma. How it is possible? You can't even think about it. At no stage. And we have no history, no examples of someone becoming God. Have you ever heard of anyone becoming God? Never. So in other words, there is no exam that you can go and study and take the exam, and then after you pass the exam, become God. There is no such thing. If you'll all move forward a little bit, it will be easier. Please, there's a lot of room here. Right up to here you can come. There's a lot of space here. Please come. So that's why this 13th chapter, Krishna elaborately explains about super soul. So we don't get into this doubt. So Paramatma is always Paramatma. What does Param mean? Supreme. He is always supreme. He never compromises his position. At the same time, he is always infallible. He is infallible. He never fails in his love for his devotee. He never falls down. He never gets covered over by Maya. Prakriti can never cover Purusha, the Supreme Purusha. But when we think we are Purusha, we are covered by Prakriti. When the Jiva gets covered by Prakriti, we start thinking that I am Purusha, I am controller. So everyone has a certain domain of control. A politician ruling over the country thinks I am the head of the nation. I control this nation. And then gets into trouble. That's how. Yeah? He loses his post. So, and the people think we are in power. We can remove the Prime Minister when we want to. But then they elect somebody hoping that he'll be good and he also cheats them. So where is the gain? It is not possible. We cannot imitate Purusha. So in text 14 to 18, you will find here that the super soul qualities are mentioned. Let's quickly go through that, and then we'll go to 23, and then we'll go further. If you go from 14 to 18, you'll find that we'll go through the translations only. Mrigank, you can read? 14, yeah.
Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way the super soul exists, pervading everything.
So is there any place super soul is not there? Is he in this room? This is one of the initiation questions. Is Paramatma in this room? Where is he then? Huh? He is there in every atom. He is there along with every Atma, accompanying every Atma. So, he is present everywhere. Is he present in Vaikuntha? Yes or no? There is no need for Paramatma there. The Lord is present as Lord Narayan himself, as Narayan. He is present as Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. He is present as Lord Ramchandra in Ayodhya. So in different planets he is present in different forms. But Paramatma is only in the material world. Why does Paramatma come only to the material world? Yes, Mataji, use the microphone.
To guide the soul, because
Yes.
he is a conditioned soul.
Correct.
And the second thing I wanted to ask, what are the qualities of Paramatma? Like, Krishna has 64 qualities, but then what Paramatma is, like 60 or less than 60?
Yeah, Paramatma is like Lord Vishnu. Huh? So Vishnu, he comes here in the material world, three different forms of Vishnu: Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu and Shirodaksha Vishnu. Shirodaksha Vishnu is Paramatma. So 60 qualities are manifested. Okay. So he is coming here because we have forgotten Krishna. He is coming there and accompanying us life after life, trying to bring us back. So to explain this, Srila Prabhupada tells the story of 4 wives. Have we discussed that before? Yes. Who remembers who the 4 wives are? Nand Gokul Prabhu. Give the microphone. Yeah, give him microphone. Keep one here and one you give there. One you can keep there at the back.
Prabhu, is that the one with the relatives and wealth and
Yeah.
all these things? Yeah.
So so when the man is dying, he calls for his 4 wives.
4 wives, yeah.
What happens?
And then he says, "Who would like to come with me into?"
Yeah.
And then all of them, 3 of them, basically says no. And first one says that I'll be marrying as soon as you die. I'll marrying with someone
I'll go
else.
to somebody else.
I'll go to somebody else. The second one says I'll come up to the Samshan Ghat or
Graveyard.
the graveyard. And the third one actually says that no, I think the third one actually says I will come up to the graveyard.
You missed the first one.
Yeah, the first one actually says I'll not be coming anywhere. I'll be gone.
Yeah.
Second one says Second one says I'll be going to someone else. Third one says okay, I'll come up to the graveyard. And the fourth one says that I'll come with you. Yeah, and they actually represent the third one is the relatives. Second one is the your wealth, and first one is your body.
Yeah, body. Correct. Body is gone. Once you are dead, the body is useless. Once you are dead, your wealth is useless. It goes to somebody else. Someone inherits the property. And the relatives will come and cry at the cremation for a little while, and then they'll go home. They won't come beyond that. Who is there with you? But Paramatma is there always. And that fourth wife, this man had always neglected her. Never taken care of her. Never cared. But she always served him. But he never looked after her. He never asked for her. In fact, when he was dying, he called for the first wife, then second wife, then third wife. He didn't even call for the fourth wife. He only thought of 3. He didn't think of the fourth wife at all. He didn't even call for her. But she herself came and said, I'll be with you all the time. All other three don't come, or they come up to limited time. But the fourth wife, she herself comes, even though she is not called. Without being called, she comes and she says, I'll be with you through thick and thin, eternally with you. I'll never give you up. So that fourth wife represents Paramatma. Yeah. He is always with us, but we have turned our back on him. Right? Now when we turn back to him, he again comes. Okay. Text 15. Aditya is going to read. And then Arvind after that. Text 15.
The super soul is original, source of all sense, yet he is without senses. He is attached, unattached, although he is maintainer of all living beings.
Yeah. So what are the qualities mentioned here? He is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. So how come he doesn't have senses then? He doesn't have material senses. Very good. He doesn't have material senses, but he has spiritual senses. And where is that mentioned? Ramasamhita. Mrugan, can you quote that verse?
I don't know which one it is. I
Angani.
think it's Angani. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jagananti ananda chinmaya sadvijvala vigrahasya govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami.
Very nice. So Angani yasya sakalendra vittimanti. With one sense he can perform the activities of all other senses interchangeably. So that means he can't be without senses. Those are spiritual senses. So he has no material senses, but all the material senses we have, they come from Krishna, from Paramatma. So you are able to see because of Paramatma, you are able to smell because of Paramatma, you can play mridanga because of Paramatma. Those senses would not be there if you didn't have Paramatma in your heart. Okay? So listen to Paramatma. And that is about his senses. Then what is the other point mentioned there? He is unattached, even though he is maintaining everyone. When we maintain our children, as parents, we are attached to our children. When you maintain the house, we are attached to the house. When you maintain the body, we are most attached to it, more than anything. So whenever you maintain something, we become attached to it. You maintain the garden, you are attached to it. Anything you maintain, become attached. So why not maintain something for Krishna? Become attached to it and no problem. But Krishna, he maintains everyone, yet he is not attached. So that is Paramatma. Whereas we can see how we become attached. Even to the smallest thing we are attached. To a car, to a computer, to a phone, to our house, to our clothes. Everything we become attached. Anything we have got, iPads. We get attached to all these things. Because that is our conditioned nature. But Krishna's Paramatma is not attached. Okay, Arvind, next one. Next verse, 16. Oh, you not finished the work here. Please, sorry. Oh, please read.
The transcendent, the mode of nature, and the same time he is the master of all the modes of material nature.
Very good. So he is the master of the modes, and yet he is transcendental. Even Lord Shiva, anyone who comes in contact with material nature, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they are contaminated by material nature. They get infected. The only person who is not affected by material nature is Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
As you mentioned about how much we are attached to the iPhones or mobile phones, I just came across the news that someone actually sold his kidney, one of his kidney, to buy iPhone. So that much we are attached to it.
Yeah. Sold his kidney to get iPhone. Didn't have money, so That attachment is there before even buying it. Imagine what will happen after he buys it. So anyone who maintains, so even though Krishna maintains the material nature, he is the master of three modes of material nature, yet he is transcendental. He is not affected. Whereas even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are affected. What to speak of us? So sometimes devotees think, oh, Maya is no problem. I can easily cross Maya. One time there was one devotee in Melbourne. She's a new devotee. She came to one Maharaj and said, Swamiji, I have conquered Maya. And said, what's wrong with you? How can you conquer Maya like that? We can't conquer Maya unless you fully surrender to Krishna. What is that verse? Daiveshu Gunamai. Oh, Maya Duratya. Duratya is very difficult to cross. How can you say I have crossed Maya? But Krishna says, Mameva ye prapadyante Mametam taranti. That's the only way to surrender to Krishna. Any other way is not going to work. People have challenged material energy. Ravan built a golden staircase and said, you climb the staircase, you can go to Swarga. Don't have to worship any demigods. Don't have to perform any yagya. Don't need any puja, no tapasya. Just worship me and I will take you to heaven. And what happened to the staircase? Golden staircase he was trying to build. All the way to heaven. Can you imagine? How ambitious he must have been. Build a golden staircase all the way to heaven. Big infrastructure project. Never materialized. Didn't happen. He built a tunnel. I heard that he built a tunnel all the way to South America. He would go to the other end of the planet. Secret exit. If there's an attack, enemies attack him, he can escape through a tunnel. They're all his mystic power, mystic arrangements. But yet they were not successful. Mahiravan, Ravan's brother, he had a very elaborate arrangement of life. You could not kill him by killing his body. He kept his life point somewhere else. His life point was somewhere else, not in his body. So he had to, the only way to kill him was, he had kept 6 flames in one place, surrounded by snakes who spit poison. And you have to go through all the poisonous snakes, which is impossible, and then you have to blow all the 6 lamps simultaneously. And these lamps, the moment you blow one and try to blow the other one will come back again. And at the same time you blow all the thing, you have to crush one diamond which is on the hood of a snake, and you have to shoot an arrow through his heart. All 3 must happen simultaneously, then only he'll die. That was Mahiravan's security arrangements. And that is if you get through it, get to town. First of all, you can't get through his town. To get through his town, you need a secret mantra, password. You have to go through a stem of a lotus, and that lotus had, all the hairs arranged so you can only go one way. You can't come back. You have to hold your breath, chant one mantra, and go right through that lotus stem of the lotus. Then you enter what's called Mahipuri. That was his town, and that town was kept illuminated by his consciousness. If he died, the whole city would go. By his consciousness, the lights would come on, trees would grow. The whole city was thriving on his energy, on his consciousness. This is not even Paramatma, mind you, this is just the Jiva. And to kill him, you had to go through all this arrangement, and Hanuman was sent to kill him because he had kidnapped Ram and Lakshman. From when they had made, Hanuman had made elaborate secret arrangements for his Ram and Lakshman's security. And he and Vibhishan were guarding the fort. The fort was built by a tail of Hanuman. And that had antennas everywhere. Anyone go near, it will detect it and it will give warning. And there are 2 guards. Still Mahiravan managed to kidnap Ram and Lakshman. So expert he was. While they were sleeping, he took them away. He came dressed as Vibhishan, disguised, and then he got into the fort. He told Hanuman, just wait here, I think something's wrong, let me go into the fort. So Hanuman let him in because he's man. Security check failed. And he went inside and he took Ram Lakshman and flew right to the top of the tail and disappeared. So Hanuman had to go and find him. See, he didn't know where he was going. He didn't know where Ram and Lakshman were being kept. So the whole pastime took place where Hanuman had to go inside and find his sister. Mahiravan had a sister who didn't like him. She was the devotee of Lord Ram. She gave the clue where he is hiding. And even if you go to the security gate, they had a special meter. Anyone who hated Mahi Ravan, there would be a scale, and that scale would go beep beep. Even if you think bad about him, hey, this is a demon, the scale would go like that. And that day when Hanuman became very small. He went into the leaf, and he stuck as a mango leaf, because his sister, she had the boon that anyone who took bath in the water that she brings, or drinks the water she brings, will live forever, long life, Amrita. So even though she was kept in the jail because she was against Mahi Ravan, she was allowed to go every day and bring water. And she was bringing the bucket of water. In that she put some mango leaves. Under the one mango leaf, Hanuman was hiding. He wanted to get into the Mahipuri to get Ram and Lakshman back, to enter security entrance. So when that water bucket went into the security check, the machine went the other way around, extreme, showing most hatred for Mahi Ravan. And there's the guard said, every day when you come, little bit it will show hatred, but now it's going out of the machine only. The number is, the indicator is going out of the machine. How much you hate Mahi Ravan? What is going on? Who is here? Is there anybody else here? They couldn't find. Some Hanuman got in. So pretty amazing, all these arrangements. And all three things had to be done. So that's why then Vayudev comes to help Hanuman. He says, okay, I am Vayu, I can control air. I'll create a vacuum, so all the lamps will go away. And you can crush the diamond, Hanuman, and Lord Ram will shoot an arrow to Mahi Ravan at the same time. And then he died. So ultimately, such a powerful personality, with such elaborate security arrangements, such intelligent schemes, even he could not be saved. He thought this is pretty foolproof, isn't it? You kill his body, nothing will happen. He'll live. Body just regrow again. You can't kill him. How powerful. But yet he was defeated. So Paramatma, we are reading here, he is the master of all the three modes of material nature. Master of material energy. Okay, next verse. Arvind.
The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and non-moving, because he is subtle. Subtle. He is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all.
So as Paramatma, he reconciles all differences, all opposites. So Kunti Devi in a prayer, she says, my dear Lord, you exist inside and outside, yet nobody can see you. How is that possible? How do they exist inside and outside? How does Krishna exist inside us? As Paramatma, yes, as Super Soul. So we can't see him there. Outside? Huh? Unmanifest form everywhere. And the form of material nature, in the form of different forms of material nature. He says, I am the taste of water, I am the light of sun and moon. So he is there everywhere in that sense. But he is also present as Bhagavan. Krishna came as Bhagavan. And yet, the non-devotees like Duryodhana and company, they could not recognize him. They couldn't understand who he was. So he exists both inside and outside, yet nobody can see him. Because they don't know who he is. So in Krishna, all the differences are reconciled, inside and outside. What is that? Subtle and beyond the perception of material senses. What is the Sanskrit word for that? Sukshma. What is mentioned in that verse? Sukshma and? What does that mean? Unknowable. Although he is far away, he is also near to all. Near to all as Paramatma. Far away as Lord of Vaikuntha. He is in Vaikuntha very far away, but as Paramatma, he is right in the heart. He is beyond the power of senses. So he is beyond the power of senses. What are the Sanskrit words for beyond the power of senses? Durastham, yeah. What other words have you heard of Krishna? His name is, one is beyond the senses. Adhokshaja, very good. He is also known as Adhokshaja because he is not seen by material senses. Okay? Text 17. Who's going to read? Raghav can read? Yeah.
Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all.
So again contradictions. He is divided, but he is not divided. How is that possible? Do you have any experience something that's divided but not divided, Mrigank? No?
Oh yes. Like sometimes when you have a file on your computer. Sometimes when you have a file on your computer and you can like copy it onto your USB, so it's divided, but at the same time it's still complete because.
Wow, that's a good example. Mati, you are saying something?
Sun's energy
Yeah. Sun's energy?
is everywhere. It's divided in
Please use the microphone. Yeah.
So sun's energy is divided and yet it's not divided.
Sun's energy is everywhere, yet
It's in the sun
it's in the sun also. Yeah, example is given of in our Upanishads of the reflection of the sun in many bowls of water. If you keep 10 bowls of water, how many suns do you see? 10 suns. But how many suns are actually there? Only one. So like that, Krishna, he is situated, is divided among all living beings, but he himself is never divided. This is where the Mayavadis, they think that super soul has divided him to so many and he lost his identity. Just like you take a piece of paper and divide it into 4 parts, the original paper is gone. You only got 4 parts now. So either you have parts or you have the whole. You can't have both. But Om Purnamada Purnavidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Avishyshyate means balance. Balance is also Purna, not incomplete. If I cut off my hand, I am incomplete. But Paramatma is not incomplete. He is always in charge, always in control. He is always full. 1 minus 1 is 1. Prabhupada gives that example. Correct. Prabhupada says 1 minus 1 is 1. The spiritual mathematics. Nice way of representing it. Although he is the maintainer of all living entities, he devours them all. So how can someone who is maintaining devour that person? How does he do that? Yes, as death. In 11th chapter it says, right? Kalosmi lokakshayakrit. As death, I come and take away the bodies. So he is maintaining us, but he also comes in the form of death and takes everyone away. That is Paramatma. Okay, we'll do the next verse. Yeah. 18, huh? 17, no? No, 18. We're up to 18 now. 18. Yeah. Hold the mic close to you.
He is
Closer,
beyond,
closer, very close.
He is beyond the darkness of matter and unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the objective of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart.
So is the source of light in all luminous objects. So where the sun gets the light from? From Brahmajyoti, from Brahman. And Brahman comes from Krishna. Where is it said that? Brahmanohi Pratishtaham. In the 14th chapter it says, Brahmanohi Pratishtaham. I am the source of Brahman. So all the light in this world, all illumination comes from Krishna. He is the source. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. So beyond darkness of matter means he is not covered by matter. Maya cannot cover him. Krishna Surya Saman, Maya Andakar. Jahan Krishna, Tahan Nahi, Maya Adhikar. Just like when you're facing the sun, there will be no darkness. But when you see darkness in the sun, turn your back to the sun. In the shadow you see darkness. But the sun has no darkness. So similarly, Paramatma, he is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. So Maya on the car. Maya is compared to darkness. Krishna is beyond Maya. And he is offering the living entities also the opportunity to be beyond Maya. Where does it say that? That's the next chapter. How to conquer material energy. Which is that verse? 14th chapter. Mam chayobicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaita. Samatita means atita means beyond. When we can cross over the material energy. One verse we quoted before, Daivesh Gunamai, Krishna says. But this is another verse, 14th chapter. Is it text 26 or 27? 26, right? Then we can read that verse, 14:26. Read the verse and translation.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti.
We'll also recite with you, yeah.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena.
Bhakti yogena sevate.
Bhakti yogena sevate. 14:26. Yeah.
Sagunan samatityaitan.
Sagunan samatityaitan.
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
So under what condition that happens?
One has to be engaged in full devotional service and is unfailing in all circumstances.
Vyabhicharena. What does the word Vyabhicharena mean?
Avyabhicharena means without fail.
Without failing, yes. That is the condition. Devotional service without failing under any circumstance. Then one can cross the material nature. And you can see in Srila Prabhupada's case that he actually demonstrated that many times. That he would do things, supernatural things, which are impossible for human beings to do. Can you think of any examples that Srila Prabhupada did something extremely amazing? Yes, Sarveshwar Mataji, use the microphone please.
When the deities were being inaugurated.
Yes, in London. In London. The Landaneshwara.
Yes.
The altar was going to collapse.
Yes. And Prabhupada just ran and he supported the altar.
Yeah, it was so heavy.
Yes.
Later on it took 4 or 5 men to support it. He was doing it alone and he was an old man. He was not even young. And he was so quick. So that is Prabhupada. Of course, he is spreading Krishna consciousness at that age itself is amazing. He had no money. 40 rupees is all he had. And he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is most amazing. That's why when he was asked to show Swamiji show some magic. He said, yes, I'll show you magic. And he said, look at all his devotees. They were all previously addicted to smoking, drinking, meat eating, so many sinful activities, but they given up all that and had taken up Krishna consciousness, which is a bigger miracle, producing some ash or some gold or changing a person. So, Mam Choya Vyabhicharena. So one who engaged in devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, that person can cross the material energy. And to some extent, if we are struggling with the material energy, that also means that we are not surrendered to Krishna. That's what it means. In our life, it means that we are struggling means we are not surrendered. Until we surrender, we will struggle. And Krishna has illustrated an example of Draupadi. That if you are experiencing struggle with the material energy, it means we are not surrendered to Krishna. No matter what we are doing, whether at work, at home, outside, with anyone, with anything we have problem means we are not surrendered. The degree over which we are surrendered, to that extent material energy let go of us. Sumedha Prabhu.
But sometimes when devotees surrender to test them, they get surrounded by more material difficulties, right? So
Yes, but they always they come out of it. They're able to overcome the difficulties. Krishna puts them in difficulties, but they overcome the difficulties. They are successful. The problem is not the difficulties. The problem is, do you get stuck in the difficulties or do you come out?
how do we spot the difference? Is it because of lack of surrender, or is it a test due to surrender?
We should always think it's lack of surrender, and I think mostly we'll be right. You won't be disappointed. What is it? Hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and you won't be disappointed. So yeah, that's the way it is. So we should always take it and not surrender. And Krishna wants, he can always change things. But our problem is we think we can save ourselves. That's the problem. Deep within our heart we feel my intelligence, my strength, my bank balance, my family, my friends, my connections, they will save me. But they're all fallible soldiers. Put our faith in them, they'll let us down. The only infallible Lord is Krishna. Okay?
Prabhu, in this sloka, Lord Krishna says, thus comes to the level of Brahman. So
Which was he talking about? 14th chapter. 14th chapter.
Yeah, 14th chapter.
Yeah.
26.
Yeah.
So, does it mean that the Brahman level is the topmost?
Brahman level is a spiritual platform. We are all originally spiritual beings, but because of identifying with matter, we are caught in the material energy. We think we are matter, we want to enjoy matter. But actually we belong to the spiritual energy. So when we are surrendered to Krishna, one transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the spiritual platform. Brahman means spiritual platform. One is no longer in the material world, one is in the spiritual world.
So it doesn't mean that it is the topmost, because
Brahman level is anything beyond the material world is Brahman.
Yeah, because ultimately, even if we reach the Brahman level, we have to come down.
Yeah, it is not. It is on a Brahman platform. See, Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, Bhagavan realization, they're all on the spiritual platform. So Brahman platform means beyond material world. But that's not the end of it. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma Nashochati Nakanksha. That is a Brahman platform. No hankering, no lamentation. Nasochati Nakanksati. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Seeing everyone equally. No friends, no enemies, no distinctions. Pandita Samadarshana on that platform. That is Brahman platform. That is beyond matter already. Now from there again there are different levels. Brahman realization, Paramatma realization and Bhagavan realization. So Brahman platform means beyond material world, that's it. Doesn't say where.
So it doesn't mean that it is the topmost. Lord Krishna is
Brahman level, the topmost is also Brahman. Anything beyond material world is Brahman. In that there are different levels. But they're all Brahman. In that sense they're equal. Jitendra, you had a question? Yeah. Okay.
No, you were just saying before that you were quoting the verse from Brahma Samhita about the Lord's senses being interchangeable.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if everyone else in the spiritual world who has spiritual bodies also have interchangeable senses?
Yeah, they have. Because there it's described, Chintamani Prakara Sadvasu Kalpa Vriksha. Every stone is a Chintamani stone. Wish fulfilling. Chinta means thought. Mani means jewel. So Chintamani literally means thought jewel. But what that means is any thoughts you have, you can be manifested straight away. If you want, you can make day, you can make night. But the devotees, they want to see what is Krishna's mood, what does he want to do. and to satisfy his desires, they will manifest so many things. But their mood is to see what will please Krishna. If Krishna wants to eat, then they'll manifest prasadam for him. Krishna wants to sleep, then they'll provide him a nice bed. If Krishna wants to play, they'll go and play with him. So they make, according to situation, what Krishna wants, they manifest things. So Krishna gives them the same power.
So they can all eat with their eyes and
they can
walk
do,
with
they,
their
yeah, they can do all
ears
that.
and all that.
They can do all that. In the spiritual world, they can do all that. Because they have the full power. Actually, the pure devotee, even the material world is full of 8 mystic opulences. He has all the Ashtasiddhis. But they don't manifest that, because then people get attracted to the Ashtasiddhis and not to the bhakti. But in rare moments like Charadeshna Mataji mentioned, when the altar was going to collapse, Prabhupada manifested those potencies. But they don't do it as a general rule, because that people start imitating them and start getting distracted from their bhakti. So they keep that a secret. But the devotees have the full mystic powers. And throughout history we have seen devotees have manifested that. Even in recent times it's happened. Miracles have happened and devotees have done amazing things which is not humanly possible. It just happens. Read so many stories you read. So these are going on even now. Not only in the time of Prahlad Maharaj or Pandavas. Those times of course it happened, but now also it's happening. And to what extent devotee surrender, one is able to do incredible things. I'm sure we all experience that. That's why it's so important to surrender to the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When you surrender to the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, then extraordinary things happen. If you want to remain very comfortable, then we will not get extraordinary things. When you make that extra endeavor, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciates that. When you take the extra risk or extra trouble, extra austerity, whatever we try to do, go out of the comfort zone, then Krishna appreciates more. Of course, everyone has different capacities. We can't imitate Hanuman and try to be like him. He is in a different category. But we should still try within our means, whatever we can do. To that extent, we get freed from the influence of the material energy. Otherwise, how Prabhupada could do at the age of 70, we were going around the world and opening 108 temples. It's impossible. Which 70-year-old man has done this? No one. Not possible. So these are the characteristics of Paramatma, and then goes up to text 23 then. Finally go to text 23 which Sharamukhi explained. What are the characteristics of Paramatma mentioned there? Upadrashta, overseer. He is a witness for everything. Prabhupada in his college days, his English professor told him, the Hindu law of karma is bogus because there is no witness. And Prabhupada didn't speak to him because he was elder, but in his mind he thought, he doesn't know Paramatma is there. He is witnessing everything. Therefore there is a witness. Therefore there is reward and punishment. If you do good things, you get reward. If you do bad things, you get punishment, because there is a witness. And that witness is Paramatma. So overseer. Everywhere. You remember the story where a guru told a disciple, today's Ekadasi, I have given you banana. You should go and eat in a place where no one is there. So everyone went and ate and came, except one devotee. Who was that devotee? Kanakadas. And Guru said, how come you didn't eat? He said, first the other disciples said, I went in the room, switched off the light and ate the banana. No one saw me. Another one said, I went to the forest, deep in the forest. Nobody was there, I ate. Each one told their own reason how they ate the banana, except him. And he said, why you didn't eat? He said, everywhere I could see Paramatma. He is everywhere. I couldn't find any place where no one is there. So when they say in English, they say God forsaken place. There is no such thing. God never forsakes. We have lost, we can't see Paramatma, that is our problem. We are disconnected from Him. Rather, our consciousness is disconnected. A jiva is never disconnected from Paramatma, it's always connected. But a consciousness can be connected or disconnected. It is a consciousness that is conscious or unconscious. So, Upadrashta, Anumanta. Anumanta, we saw the traffic lights. He gives permission. He lets us do things. Without his permission, not even a blade of grass can move. Isn't it? He has to give permission. For the grass to move also, he has to give permission. So we can lift our hand, he gives permission. If Paramatma didn't give permission, we'll be paralyzed. So he gives permission, only then it happens. He gives permission so we can see. He gives permission we can hear. He gives permission we can speak. So in every way we are dependent on him. So Anumanta, Upadashta Anumanta. Bharta, what does Bharta mean? Huh? Maintainer, he maintains. Where do you hear the word Bharta? Apart from Banganka Bharta. Yes. Lord Shiva is described as Bhavani Bharta, the husband of Bhavani. So then, that is another topic. Keshav Kashmiri composed a poem glorifying her. Husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. He said that, how can that be? That is an improper grammatical construction. Husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. What does that mean? That's what scholars do. They spend time on these things. Husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. What does that mean? That means she has more than one husband, isn't it? It indicates that. To say husband of the wife of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yeah, that makes sense. It could be Bhima, could be Arjuna, could be Nakul, Sahadev, any of them, because they are all our husbands. But to say Bhavani Bharta, husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, is improper construction. Lord Chaitanya picked up that fault in Keshav Kashmiri's construction of. So Bharta means husband or master, also means pati, protector. So Bharta, Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalar Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Krishna is also called Gopi Bharta. In Padyavali it comes that verse, no? Naham Mipro Nacha Narapati Vaishyo Na Shudro Naham Varnina Jagrapatir Manasto Yatirva Kintu Broja Nikila Paramananda Purnavatab there Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalara Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I'm not a Brahman, I'm not Kshatriya, not Vaishya, not Shudra, not Brahmachari, not Grihastha, not Vanaprastha, not Sannyasi. Then who are you? Gopi Bhartu, the master of the gopis, the lord of the gopis. Pada Kamalayor, his lotus feet. Dasa Dasanu Dasa, servant of servant of servant. Of that supreme lord who is Gopi Bhartu. Okay. So Bharta, then Bhokta. Bhokta is enjoyer. Which verse we read already? Bhoktaram yakatapasam Maheshwara. Suridam sarvbhutanam katvam shantim rachati. So that is Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara. What does Maheshwara mean? Maha Ishvara, controller, supreme controller. That also same verse, Bhoktaram yakatapasam, is also mentioned. Sarvaloka Maheshwara. He is the proprietor and maintainer of all the planets and demigods. It also means demigods. So what does this say? Anumanta Upadashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. Then Paramatmeti Chapyokta. It is also the super soul. Okay, so we done that. Text 24 also we did last time. We'll just recap that verse. Just read 24. Janardhan to 24. We'll just read the sloka and translation. Then we'll move on. Use the microphone, please.
Ya evam vetti purusham.
Ya evam vetti purusham.
Prakritim cha gunai saha.
Prakritim cha gunai saha.
Sarvatha vartamanopi.
Sarvata vartmanopi.
Nasa bhuyo bijayate.
Nacha bhuyo bijayate.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position.
So what is the advantage of understanding this difference between Atma and Paramatma? Sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. So this also same thing is mentioned in the 4th chapter. Janma karma divyam evam vivati tattvata yaktva deham puna janma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. So here he is saying, if you know that Paramatma is transcendental, is beyond the material world, he is superior even to the Jivatma. When you understand that position, and he is maintaining everyone, Nitya Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam Vedati Kaman. He is eternal, we are eternal. He is conscious, we are conscious. Looks like we are same. No. He alone, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidhati Kaman. He maintains all of us. He is our maintainer. We don't maintain him, he maintains us. So if you know this, you attain liberation. Text 25. Is Nidhi around? Oh, sorry. Oh, please, let's go through the illustration, then go text. Where is Nidhi hiding? Oh, Nidhi, come right to the front. Come right next to Ruchika. Come forward. Stretch your legs. That's the kindergarten section. Promoted here. Yeah, you can read. You're going to read the next verse, okay? After Sharmut Maharaj explains this. Text 24.
Here is 24. So this shows the result of knowledge. The result of knowledge is that we get liberated. So the purpose of knowledge in the purport Prabhupada says is to understand distinctly that the living entity.
Use the microphone now. Okay, we have to.
Sorry.
On the microphone, yeah.
So 13.24 it gives us the result of what is the result we get by in the knowledge that we attain. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. And so what is the solution for that? By personal endeavor, by association with these three authorities, saintly persons and spiritual master. Authorities is in blue, saintly persons is in green, and spiritual master is in purple. So by personal endeavor, by association with these three, what happens? He understands his position, and finally he reverts to Krishna consciousness. By doing this, he will be transferred to the spiritual world. So again, I have drawn from Goloka down the path downwards to the material world with a cross in red, which we've already done. That's our mistake. So now we have to rectify that with a tick, where from the material world we are retracing our path and going back to Godhead. So that is showing Nasa Bhuyobi Jayate. That's the last part of the shloka. Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gunaihi saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhuyobi jayate. So that's the result of knowledge. We get liberated. Thank you. That's the shloka's illustration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Nidhi.
ध्यायेनात्मानि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. Some perceive the supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working out fruitive desires.
The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned soul can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding, because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone, the all-pervading Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the supreme absolute truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as a 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in Krishna consciousness and who try to find out the super soul by meditation, and when they discover the super soul within themselves, they become transcendently situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the supreme soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities.
Sankhya philosophers, yeah. The meditators, those who seek knowledge, those who are after mystic perfection. Yeah. So basically, there are different categorization going on here in this verse. You see, there are different perspectives of dividing this verse. One is that through meditation, those who follow the path of meditation. What is the Sanskrit word for meditation used here? Dhyanena. Like 6th chapter, Dhyan Yoga. That way. Or the other is through cultivation of knowledge. What is the cultivation of knowledge mentioned here? Sankhyena. Okay. And others? Karma yogis. So 3 categories are mentioned here. One is the Dhyan Yogena, second is Sankhya Yogena, and third is Karma Yogena. So different paths, they are all trying to understand the super soul. That's why in the beginning of Krishna book, George Harrison says, everybody is looking for Krishna. But some realize, some don't realize. He said even the scientists are looking for Krishna. They are trying to find ultimate cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karanam. They are trying to get to the absolute truth. Absolute truth means cause of all causes. The ultimate cause of everything. The absolute truth. So that is one classification. Sankhya Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, or Sankhya Yoga, Dhyan Yoga and Karma Yoga. One classification. Second classification is faithful and not faithful. So Sankhya philosophy, there are 2 types of Sankhya philosophy. What are the 2 types? That is cheating. That's right, but cheating. Use the microphone, Mrigank, and you can tell us.
I don't know the answer, but as far as I can remember, I think there's one that follows
Kapil.
Yeah, Kapil Dev's teachings, and there's the other one that just follows the mathematical kind of thing. That's not actually doesn't actually have anything to do with.
So that's why the faithful unfaithful is the correct answer. So there's two types of Sankhyas. There's the atheistic and theistic Sankhya. The faithful is the theistic, the unfaithful is the atheistic Sankhya. The difference Prabhupada explains. What is the difference, Prabhas Krishna Prabhu?
One goes to the elements. I think one goes to the elements trying to find out the Lord. Another is by neti.
Yeah. Both of them follow neti principle. But the atheistic Sankhya stops at the 24 elements and says 25th is the Atma. But the theistic Sankhya taught by Lord Kapila goes to the 26th element, that is Paramatma. 24 elements we know. What are the 24 elements? How do you get to 24? Yeah, please use the microphone too, please.
5 senses.
5 senses. What senses are you talking about?
5 sense objects, 5 working senses.
5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses.
Knowledge acquiring senses, 3 subtle elements.
Yes.
And then time,
Yeah.
and then soul is the 24.
Time is not mentioned there.
No, time is not mentioned here. I think time includes up to 25th, and then 26th is the Supreme Lord.
No, time is not mentioned in the classification.
Okay.
Working senses, active senses, sense objects. Okay, and then earth, water, fire, air, ether. That's 5.
Yeah.
And 3 is the subtle mind, intelligence, false ego.
That is 23. So
That's
that
23.
is 23.
Yeah.
24th is then something, and then 25th is soul, and
Yeah.
then 26th is super soul.
Correct.
So
That's how the
24th, probably, I don't know, probably it could be time or something. I don't
So
know.
the atheistic Sankhya, they count only up to 24. They don't go to 25 or 26. So that's why they are always stopping. That's why they say that the cause of all causes is material nature. Prakriti is the cause of all creation. Life comes from chemicals. What does that sound like? Isn't that same as modern scientists? They're saying life comes from Big Bang, it comes from primordial soup, a chunk of matter. So they're all atheistic Sankhya. So they only stop at material nature. They don't go beyond material nature. They only understand Shakti, but they don't know who is Shaktiman, the origin of Shakti. Who is the original Shakti, they don't know. And that is the 26th element, Paramatma. So that's why there are two types of Sankhya philosophers, the atheistic Sankhya and theistic Sankhya. So atheistic Sankhya is also taught by one Kapila, but he is not son of Devahuti. He is not the expansion of the Lord. He is not the incarnation of the Lord. The atheist is Kapila. He taught the atheistic philosophy. So what is Krishna saying here? They are all trying to understand Super Soul through different methods, but they only get partial understanding. Just like 6 blind men trying to understand what elephant looks like. Right? Do you know that example? Yes, Shiva Krishna Prabhu, yes, can you tell? How do the blind men find out the elephant?
So each one of them touches the various parts of the elephant and
Yes.
understands the elephant is like that, you know.
Yeah.
One touches the tail, one touches the feet.
One who touches the tail, he thinks it's like a rope.
Like rope.
One who touches the trunk, he says like a pipe. One who touches the tusk, he says like a sharp sword. And one who touches the leg says like a pillar. And one who touches the body says like a brick wall. Everyone had the right understanding, but in the limited sense. So all these other paths, they give you some understanding. Only by devotion service we get. Only for devotees, one can understand it. So what does Brahma say in the Brahma Samhita? Very difficult for others to understand the complete picture. Only devotees can understand it. Very good boy. He is good. Jitendra is good. Vedeshu durlabham, adurlabham atma bhaktau. So Vedeshu durlabham. When we are studying Vedas by all these methods, very difficult. But adurlabham, very easy. For whom? Atma bhaktau. Govindam adi purusham tamam bhajami. So Lord Brahma says, oh, he is very intelligent. He is worshipping Govinda. So we should learn from him. If Brahma is worshipping Govinda, why we are thinking I know better? You should not think like that. Brahma is saying he is the most intelligent. His body is made up of full intelligence. Can you imagine? His body is made up of full intelligence. Earth, water, fire, air, ether are not there in his body. Then in our mind, straight intelligence. Such a pure. Mahat Tattva is the supreme cosmic intelligence. So from the Mahat Tattva, Brahma gets his body. His body is full of intelligence. And he is saying, Govindam Adi Purusham Tavam Bhajami. And he gets trapped by the material energy on a few occasions. So what is our position? And yet we are saying, I know better. How foolish is that, right? Very foolish. That's why we are Baddhaji, a conditioned soul. So this verse is describing about how to pursue super soul, and for devotee it is very easy. Only for devotee it is easy. For others, very difficult. Okay, text 26 was not read. Dashrath Priya Prabhu?
Just one thing I remember.
Yes, please. Give the microphone. Yeah.
In Melbourne Temple, they are studying the third canto, chapter 6, I think chapter 7 now. In that, there is one shloka which says, there are two people who are completely happy. The ones who are in between are very unhappy. So that's a broad spectrum. That class was taken by Jagannath Ram Prabhu, and I love his classes. He analyzes everything from this end to the other end. So in this end is the lower end is the person who is completely caught up under the modes of material nature, and he is drunk and he experiences bliss in being drunk and like that, completely under the modes. And then he gives us all those different kinds of people, and at the other end of the spectrum is the person who has transcended everything and who is a pure devotee, a Paramahamsa. So that class is so fantastic. In that he is explaining there are agnostics, atheistics, skeptics, and then he says there are practicing devotees. He says, mind you, I'm using the word practicing. We are not devotees as yet. Like Prabhupada many times said, we are Vaishnava Abhas. We are shadow. We are still in the shadow. We haven't come there. Sometimes I think, oh my God, so many years I've been chanting, but still those qualities which I had in the beginning are still there. They haven't seemed to have disappeared, or maybe they have come down in in the intensity, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel, oh wow, I've conquered that anartha, but in another circumstance it comes back with gusto. So then, Jagannath Ram Prabhu is saying, doesn't matter. Even if we are practicing devotees, so all these people, we are trying, but then we should not get deterred by that. We keep on practicing, and one fine day, it's not just our effort. Krishna's sanction should also be there. But when he sees that we are endeavoring and not giving up, when we are determined, so many Maharajas, year after year, we can see them going on parikrama. So if you go on Facebook, so many Maharajas going on parikrama. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Sachinandan Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, Bhakti, so many Maharajas going on parikrama. Year after year, they're going to the same places. But then they're relishing it. Each time they're relishing. And Krishna is, of course, they are all Maharajas. But we can be hopeful that we'll also get there one day. So we are getting purified every time we study this. And so I was just thinking, all these, when Prabhu was explaining 24 elements, I'm quickly trying to write it all down. Oh my God, 24 elements, this, that. But then it's okay. Even if you don't know the 24 elements properly, as long as we are applying ourselves properly to the process, there will be results. I don't know, maybe I'm digressing from the topic. Thank you, sorry.
This verse is talking about how Paramatma is realized by different personalities, but for devotees it is very easy, those engaged in devotion service. Text 26. Yes.
Our Townsville Temple president has got a question. He says, what are the childish activity Prabhupada talks about?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the childish activities are Hatha Yoga, for example. Trying to become God, trying to become Bhagwan, they're all childish activities. Yeah. Okay, Dashrath Priya Prabhu, text 26.
Anvitam evam ajananta
Anetam ajananta
Shrutva yeva upasate
Shrutva me eva pasate
tepi tante eva iti chante mrityam shruti pranayata pranayana. Translation. Again, there are those who, although not convergent in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person, often hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death.
Yeah, turned off. Okay, yeah.
This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress. Especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated therefore that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home.
So this verse, what is the main point here? Hearing from authorities. Tashrunu, yes. Hearing from authority. Those who are inclined to hear from authorities, they can easily cross over this material world. They can understand Paramatma. So today we read 3 verses, 24, 25, 26. So in 24, what is the main point? What is the qualification? Yeah. How the material nature, how the living entity interacts with material nature, how super soul is transcendental. If you understand these 3 elements, Prakriti, Purusha and Jiva, then you can transcend the material world. You can. What is the benefit? He can get liberation. Text 25, what is the main point? Different types of yoga. They try to understand, but for devotees it's very easy. For them it's a big struggle. Through Jnana Yoga, through Sankhya Yoga, through Dhyana Yoga, meditation, it's very difficult. Through Karma Yoga, very difficult. They're trying to different methods, it's very difficult. For a devotee it's very easy. And text 26, what does it say? What is the devotee? Who is the devotee? One is he likes to hear from authorities. So in the Bhagavatam reading the first canto, how Narada Muni got liberated. Chaitanya, you want to explain? What is the secret of Narada Muni's success? How did he attain this position that's talked about here?
He did three main things. He served the Bhakti Vedantas.
Yeah.
He heard from them, Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan, and he honored their Mahaprasad remnants.
Now it's on? Yeah, good. So of all of them, the devotee's position is very fortunate. And to become a devotee is not very difficult. One has to just hear from authorities. And that you mentioned, right? Authorities, spiritual master, and the saintly persons. So Narada Muni did all three. He had spiritual master, and the saintly persons. He heard from them and he inquired from them, and he also got the taste. By taking the Mahaprasadam, he got the taste. So this was also a conclusion of the talk between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. When they had a conversation, what is the perfection of life? It starts with Varnashram Dharma, follow Varnashram Dharma, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, follow your rules, regulations. Then gradually by Varnashram Dharma, worshipping Lord Vishnu, we get perfection. That's one level. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't accept that. So he goes on explaining different levels. Surrender to the Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, different levels of Bhakti Yoga. Finally he comes to the point of hearing from authorities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, that is the beginning of pure devotion service. And then he goes on to explain Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakhya Rasa, friendship, parental love, Vasalya, and Madhurya Rasa. Explains how the love progresses through the different stages. More and more intimate at each level. Gets more intimate at each level. So that is perfection. But that starts from hearing from authorities. Pure devotion service begins from hearing from authorities. That's why that is the starting point. Then one can understand Super Soul and not make the mistake of thinking that I am God. By hearing from the proper authorities. And thus what happens? They transcend the path of birth and death. Any other points in this verse? What does Prabhupada mention? What are the points he mentioned? Hearing from authorities and hearing the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And then he says, and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become a servant of those who are in knowledge. That's what Narada Muni did. And Narada Muni gives his own example. So you see, Narada Muni's case is very interesting because Vyasadeva, he compiled all the Vedic literatures. The 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, the Puranas, everything he compiled. But yet he was dissatisfied. In spite of compiling, imagine, it's not a small job to compile 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, write the Mahabharata. It is not easy. But still, in spite of doing all this, he was feeling dissatisfaction. But by hearing from authority, Narada Muni was very clear. So what does that suggest to us? Here is Vyasadeva, great scholar, literary incarnation of Krishna, compiled all the Vedic literature, yet feeling dissatisfied. Yeah, that's the glory of devotion service. In spite of having so much knowledge, he was bewildered. Of course, that was done purposely by Krishna to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not think, oh, there you go. Vyasadeva is a conditioned soul. He is like us. No, he is not like us. He is a literal incarnation of Krishna. So definitely he is not an ordinary person. But even he got bewildered. What to speak of our position? So that's a very humbling thought. Right? But Narada Muni, even the son of a maidservant, by serving the devotees, he actually became self-realized by hearing from authorities. Yep.
Here it says, the last word in the shloka says Shruti Parayana. Shruti Parayana, the translation word to word meaning is inclined to the process of hearing. Narayana Para, Narayana Parayana. Those who are inclined to Lord Narayana, they are called Narayana Parayana. So here we can remember that word by relating it to Narayana Parayana. Those who are inclined to Narayana are Narayana Parayana. Those who are inclined to hearing are Shruti Parayana.
Okay, so next verse, we'll read one more verse before we finish. So the last section, text 27 onwards, is talking about those who are realized, those who are able to see that knowledge, Jnana Chakshu, the vision of knowledge. What is their position? Okay, who has not read? Srimali Prabhu, you have not read till now?
Yavat sanjayate kinchit Satvam sthavara jangamam Kshetra jnana samyogat Tat vidhi bharata sabha. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field.
Purport?
Both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and the material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving. And all of them are but combinations of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is effected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and the inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature, and thus all these activities and manifestations take place.
So what is the main point here? Please use the microphone. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Both the material nature and the spiritual nature comes from the Supreme Lord.
Very good.
It is controlled by him.
Yes, very good. So that is the vision of knowledge. As a result of knowledge, you can see the distinction. Okay, that is called Vishishta Advaita. One is seeing the distinctions between them and the similarities at the same time, which is very similar to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. He explains Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, all of them in one philosophy, simultaneously one and different. So what are the points are mentioned in this verse? Please speak in the microphone.
The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and
Yeah.
this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord.
Yes. So this is there all the time. So who is a realized soul? A realized soul is one who can make the distinction. Parasa Shakti Vividaya Shruyate. So this is the major difference between Vaishnava philosophy and Mayavad philosophy. Mayavad philosophy, they say that when you stop making the distinction, then you are liberated. But Vaishnava philosophy says when you make the distinction, that's the liberation, the one in knowledge. That's why one time Kurma Prabhu said very wonderfully that the non-devotees, they cannot discriminate. But devotees, they can and they do discriminate. You see the oneness and you see the difference. You see both. That is higher knowledge than saying there's no difference. Yes, there's no difference in one level, but there's also difference in another level. On what level, on what grounds you say there's no difference? Quality is same, quantity is different. Nitya Nityanam. We are eternal, he is eternal. That is same. We are conscious, he is conscious. Chaitana is Chetananam. That is also same. So he is Satchidananda, we are Satchidananda. Then what is the difference? In the quantity. The quantity is different. So that means we are of the same quality as the Lord, same spiritual nature. But we are conditioned souls. We can be covered by Maya. Whereas Krishna, he is never covered by Maya. So if you understand this, you get liberation. It's called a realized soul. Okay, so what are the characteristics of realized soul? Yes, Megan. Yeah, please use the microphone.
I just don't understand the verse in itself. So, as far as I just want to clarify what I think I've understood.
Yeah.
So, the knower of the field is the soul,
Mm.
and the field of activities is kind of like interface functions in programming, where the soul can kind of choose what he wants to do, and by the soul choosing and doing that activity, whatever you see is happening. Like, for example, whatever you see in existence, like that tree is growing, it's because the soul in the tree is, who is the knower of the field, is using those interface. Am I right? Or yeah, so the soul in the tree is using those kind of interface functions to carry out the material activity. And that's why you see that tree in existence. And I don't know, I just don't get the verse in general.
The reason Krishna mentions that is because some people say there is no role for Paramatma. Just like when you crush mustard seed, this is what my other example. When you crush mustard seed, you get mustard oil. Now, what is the cause of the mustard oil? Is it the mustard? Is it the crushing? Or is it something else? That is how the Sankhyaites they discuss, Is it the property or is it the person crushing? But if you crush stone, you don't get mustard oil. The source is material nature, and the karma is the activity. We are performing the activity of crushing. So the Sankhyaites they say the oil is already in the mustard, that's why it's coming out. If the oil was not there in the mustard, you crush anything, you crush a piece of stone, you won't get mustard oil. So the cause is not Prakriti, is not our effort, but is the Supreme Lord who has arranged the whole thing. Because you can't crush anything and get mustard oil. Okay. Yeah. And you see a mango. Is the tree the cause of mango? Or is Mother Earth the cause of mango? Is the rain the cause of mango? Is the farmer who put the seed, is he the cause of the mango? Who is the cause of the mango? It has to be Supreme Lord. Because not any seed can give a mango tree. And not mango seed planted anywhere can give a mango. You put in a barren land, it won't grow. If there's no water, it won't grow. Where does seed come from? So who is controlling ultimately? So that's the main difference between atheistic and theistic philosophy. The atheistic philosophy, they're arguing, no, the crushing made, Karma Mimamsa says, crushing of the mustard caused the oil. That's Karma Mimamsa. Your activity caused the action and reaction. Whereas the atheistic Sankhya, they say it is the mustard already had oil in it, it just brought out, that's all. Exactly. So that is not considered. So that is why you have to go to Vaishnava. When you hear from authorities, Shastra Chakshu, then you can see the hand of the Lord. Rephrase your question.
I just don't understand what the verse is saying in general.
Read the verse again.
Okay, so, O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Kshetra is the material nature. You know what, here it says of the body. Prabhupada says in the translation, Kshetra means of the body. Kshetragya means knower of the body. Yes. Material nature, because the body comes from material nature. A body is not conscious, it's material nature, it's matter. That's right. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. So, both moving and non-moving is a combination of field of activities and the knower of the field. So, who is the knower of the field? Yeah, Kshetragya, ultimate Kshetragya is Krishna. So, the interaction of the modes of material nature, the interaction of the field activities. What is the interaction? What is the Sanskrit word for interaction here? Samyogat, yes, by the union. So when material nature and the jiva, they interact, there is a reaction there. When the living entity comes in contact with the material nature, he performs activities. But because our activities are conditioned, therefore we create more bondage. Whereas the super soul, Paramatma, he causes everything to happen. Just by glance of Mahavishnu, the whole material creation starts taking place. Just by his glance. He doesn't have to touch material nature. He doesn't directly come in contact, he just glances. And that glance personified is Shambhu. And he comes in contact with material nature. And because of that, he does get contaminated to some extent. Just like milk in contact with yogurt becomes like yogurt. It doesn't remain milk. So to start with, he is of the same tattva as Vishnu tattva. He is like milk. But because he does the extra function of making contact with material energy, therefore he becomes like a sour substance. He becomes yogurt. In one sense, milk and yogurt are both milk. But we know that yogurt cannot become milk again. Not possible. So he can never become Vishnu. Even though Lord Shiva is very close. So this is explaining the difference between Lord Shiva, difference between material nature, difference between Lord Vishnu, Chirodaksha Vishnu, Paramatma, Super Soul, and the Jiva. So Jiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Shambhu Tattva, and Prakriti. So all these and how they all interact is being explained here. Okay? So these are all very distinct personalities, distinct energies. That's why Vedic literature says Paras Shakti Vividhe Shruyate. So Vaishnavas, we don't accept Shakti Tattva or Jiva Tattva. We accept all the Shaktis, all the energies of the Lord. I think I explained this before. Maybe you are not there. The Buddhists, they don't accept any form of absolute truth. Absolute truth is void. The Sankhyites or the Shankarites, they accept one form absolute truth. That's Brahman. Brahman Satya, Jagan Mithya. Everything else they reject. But Vaishnavas accept all forms, all energies of the Lord. Parashakti Vidaya Shruyate. So the impersonalists, they say this material world is a Brahma Parinamvada. Brahman has got transformed into forms like this. Originally it's all formless, colorless, odorless, tasteless. Brahman. And that got transformed. When it comes in contact with matter, it gets, that's why you get all these forms here. And liberation means you go back into the formlessness again. That's their philosophy. But the Vaishnavas see that as variegatedness. And Parashakti, Vividha. Vividha means different forms of energies of the Lord. But He exists independently. Just like you look at garbage. Is that Krishna? That's the energy of the Lord. It's not Him. It's Him, but it's not Him. That's why He says earlier, right? Behold a mystic opulence. Everything is in me, yet I am not in everything. I exist independently. So Krishna as a person exists. So Prabhupada gives example of Birla. He exists as a person, but he has Birla Industries running, full of all talking about Birla, all under his authority. But he has not lost his individuality. He still as a person is playing golf somewhere or building a temple or doing something. He is doing his own thing. He is there as a person. But he has his energies. So this way, energy, we recognize energy and energetic. Shakti and Shaktiman, recognize both. So Vaishnava philosophy, it accommodates all these different understandings, different tattvas. It reconciles all of this in the form of Achintya Bhedaveta. That's the complete understanding, the most scholastic and the most complete explanation of all these energies of the Lord. The whole 13th chapter can be explained by Achintya Bhedaveta Tattva. That's the only philosophy that explains all of these things. Every other philosophy falls short somewhere. But each Acharya had to bring the philosophy to a certain level. So Shankaracharya taught Advaita to kick out Buddhism. To remove voidism, he had to bring impersonalism first. Then Ramanujacharya came and established Vishishta Advaita. Then Madhvacharya came and Vishishta Advaita. Then there is confusion, which is the highest. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, resolved the whole thing. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. He explained Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana. In those terms he explained everything. And then the 6 Goswamis followed after that. And then we have all our Baldev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and all these Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they explained everything. And see, all Jiva Goswamis, Tat Sandarbha, they explain everything in minute detail. Someone is really that scholarly, they can go and study all the such Sandarbhas. 6 Sandarbhas explained. Very, very authoritative and very thorough. Meticulously explains everything with praman from Shastra. So there is no room for doubt that Krishna is Supreme Personality of God and Bhakti is the only process. Okay? So we'll stop here. The last section is 27 to 35, Shastra Chakshu. Yes, Sharmukhi. Give her the microphone. We'll conclude with that.
We've come to the last section of this chapter, which is Jnana Chakshu. So from last week or week before last, I was trying to apply this. Many times I was unsuccessful, but a few times I was successful. So here in this whole chapter, we've heard Kshetra, Kshetrajna so many times. So then whenever I saw any person, I was trying to think, okay, this body is Kshetra and Kshetrajna is the spirit soul inside, and they are all children of God. So there that way I should not discriminate between anyone. Because we are so conditioned from 8.4 million whatever species of life that we've gone through and come, we are so conditioned that we have this tendency to see only the external appearance of the person or the living entity. No? So we get carried away by that and we fail to see that this is also a spirit soul and they're connected to Krishna. So this is how this is a parallel for Ekatvam Anupashyati in Ishopanishad. Tatra ko moha ka shokah ekatvam anupashyati. Only when you see mine and not mine, you have that moha, shoka. But then when you transcend that and see the spirit soul in everyone, then you think that everyone is a child of God. So that helps you to become peaceful. I'm trying to see that, but it's so hard because we have been conditioned. I remember once Shreyas, Giridhar and me were on the tram in Melbourne, and there was one person, this African American kind of the dark complexioned person, and as soon as I saw that person, I said, oh Baba, I told Shreyas and Giridhar, oh Baba, this person is so dark, no? And then both of them gave me such a horrible look. And after we got off the tram, they said, you're such a racist. I said, I was not thinking of, I was feeling sorry that that person might be feeling bad that the complexion is like that, and I was feeling sorry for that person. So then now the Kshetrajna, now I'm thinking, no, shouldn't see like that. Dark, short, tall, male, female, all are living entities, and they are all parts and parcels of Krishna. And they have their relationship with Krishna. Again, like Jagannath Ram Prabhu was telling, we are practicing devotees. So we are so still full of flaws. But then any time we even endeavor to think like that and connect them to Krishna, saying, these are non-devotees, we are devotees. Not like that. Uttama Shloka Prabhu said, Krishna is not found only in ISKCON, he's everywhere. And Krishna is called God, he's called different names by different people who are following different religions. And so they have a connection with the Lord. So as soon as we judge, we are falling back. Where is ISKCON, ISKCON? They are better than us then, because they are not judging us. Because we've got knowledge, little bit. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, no? So little knowledge we've got. So we instantly judge and say, that person is a non-devotee, and we're judging. They don't know anything, I know so much. That is so wrong, so wrong. So now I'm trying to correct myself by trying to apply this Jnana Chakshu. And I've thought of another illustration. When I draw that, I'll share it with all of you. I thought of drawing glasses, and on the glass, along the rim of the glass, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, like that. And so one part of the page, the person has no chakshu. They're saying, oh, fair, dark, short, long, tall, ugly, and beautiful. And in the other one, with the glasses, Shastra Chakshu. Okay, Kshetra, Kshetrajna. Then that person is feeling happy inside, there's a happy Lord inside. So like that, we'll be able to apply that. Without application, just knowledge is useless. We can go on for years together with great knowledge. Our crown chakra will become bigger and bigger. Heart chakra will remain the same size. To go back to Godhead, the heart chakra should be so big that the Lord can come and reside there. He is unlimited. He is unlimited. For him to come and reside in a small heart, he said, no, there is not enough place for me, I can't come. Make your heart big, I'll come. So this helps us to make our heart big. Kshetra Kshetrajna Jnanam. So I was feeling so thrilled. I thought, wow, this is so nice. I try to apply it. So if we all can apply it together, then we can say, see, here I went wrong, but here I got it. So pat ourselves, Krishna, thank you, Krishna. You gave me, Paramatma, you gave me realization. So next time, please don't let me down. Please keep giving me this realization all the time. So apply, and go back. And make it easier for our Guru Maharajs to take us back. Otherwise, our anchors will be here and they have to struggle so hard to cut off our anchors to take us there. Like someone asked Srila Prabhupada, will you have to keep coming back if your disciples are not qualified? He said, yes, of course. Do you want me to come again and again? So we should try to make it easier for a good student is one who will make it easy for the teacher to correct their answer sheets. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. Sorry. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Sorry, it was a quick one. I want to make a comment.
No, just a question.
Okay, just give the microphone. Quick.
If there's no time.
We'll do it next time better. Yeah, we'll do it next time better. Yeah, it's already gone over 1 o'clock. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Mathura Gokul Machi, got a book.